You gotta roll, you gotta fill my soul, sorry. You gotta roll, you gotta fill my soul, sorry. Passion lady, passion lady, give up your vows, give up your vows. Say what? I can't hear you. I think I heard that now. Sounded something like, same old city, same old city. Right now, right now, right now, right now, right now. Well, I woke up this morning. Try to hear, I said I woke up this morning. I can't hear you, baby. Come on, it's the best part of the day. You need it for breakfast. Beer for breakfast. So, baby, let me hear you. I said I woke up this morning. Woo! I said I woke up this morning. Yeah, the future's uncertain. Somewhere. Let it go, baby, run. Let it roll, 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 baby,
Yeah, welcome to Making Music. My name's Dan Aronie, and I'm your host. What you just saw was Brad Kava playing harmonica with Doghouse Riley at the Warfield Theater. I want to introduce you to Brad. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, you are the music critic for the Santa Fe Mercury News, and you also obviously play in Doghouse Riley, which we just got a chance to have fun with seeing.
Yeah.
The fun job, and I think you have to have one of the most fun jobs in San Jose, is going to all the rock concerts and seeing all these guys play. And the downside is you have to hear the crud when people don't like what you have to say.
Exactly.
But tell us a little bit how you got that gig.
Well, I was a news reporter for a good 10 years. Working for the Mercury News, I covered police, I covered disasters, I covered what they call general assignment news, a little bit of everything. And I loved music. In my spare time, that's what I did. I bought CDs, went to concerts, I loved it. And I would freelance, what they call freelance, sell in an article per piece. So, two things happened simultaneously. One, the guy before me went out on a stress disability. Now that might have told me something. Probably it should have told me something.
And this was the music critic
the
before?
Music critic.
Oh, great.
Yeah, left on a stress disability. And the other thing that happened is I was covering the Oklahoma City bombing, and it was just enough. I'd had enough. Every time I got off a plane, somebody was dead on the other side, and I got tired of that. So they had the opening for the music critic job, and I took it. The first concert I reviewed was ZZ Top, I remember. They asked if I wanted to go, and I reviewed ZZ. And that's when I learned my failings.
Where
as
were
a
they
music
playing
critic.
at that time?
At the Cow Palace.
Oh, was that right?
ZZ
Yeah.
Top at the
Yeah.
Cow Palace. And you know, and this is how dark ages this were. There was no internet. I don't even barely CDs at this point. And I went to see ZZ Top, and I would write down what the songs were. Well, I wasn't sure of the names. I realized, you know, I don't have the memory for the exactly. Is it Legs? Is it She's Got Legs? Is it? And I'm asking all these ZZ Top fans, hey, what song was that? I don't know, man. You know, they're all the hell's it? I don't know. I'm trying to find their manager. I'm trying to find anybody who knows, and nobody quite knew the names of the songs. At 10 a.m. when Tower opened the next day, I'm on the phone to the clerk. Hey, you got to help me, man. Pull out some ZZ Top albums. Well, they didn't have time to mess with me either.
Right.
So anyway, that was.
So how was the concert? I mean, how was the write-up?
The concert was good. The write-up had some bad mistakes that
Really?
have come to haunt me over the years. I met Billy Gibbons. He says, I remember you. You're the guy who called Tube Snake Boogie, Tube Steak Boogie. I called it.
Oh, so he nailed you on everything.
He nailed it. He had me on it, 10 years later.
Yeah. Now I know last year McCartney was in town, and you
Yeah.
got a chance to interview Paul McCartney
Yeah.
in his hotel room.
No, it was on the
wasn't-
phone. We
It was
talked on the
actually
phone.
over the phone. So you didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It was in his limo. Paul
Right.
doesn't have that much time. So
Yeah, right,
Paul-
I'm figuring.
So we talked while he was driving from the airport to the venue.
Yeah.
And he was sweet, The good thing about Paul is he said, "Ask me anything," and he meant it.
Yeah.
And gave me free reign. But what can you ask Paul McCartney that hasn't been asked before? I put it out to the readers. I begged them, come up with some questions.
And what did you have? Anything good? Or just the same
It was
old
all
stuff?
fairly mundane.
Is
Yeah,
that right?
I think
Yeah.
I came up with one thing. I think that nobody had. What were the worst John Lennon songs, or what were the songs by John that you wouldn't want to do, or what were things like that? I asked him to try to get to a darker side. We didn't get too far.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. But what a great time. Now, did you go to? You went to the concert as well and wrote up about that?
Yeah. I didn't like it that much. Now I'd
Yeah.
seen him the tour before where I loved him, and this one he talked too much.
Right.
And you know what?
And I've had other people say that too, and it's funny, you hit it right on the head, because everyone that I've said that really knows McCartney and saw him on the last concert
Yeah.
said the exact same thing you said in the interview, and they agree with you. And then you have other people that said, you're crazy, you're so full, it's just, I'm sure you got a lot of credit from that, but you can't win sometimes.
Yeah, you can't wait, exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever I do. And you got to figure people are going, they're spending a fortune now for concert tickets. They're bringing their wife, they're bringing their girlfriend. It's a date. It may cost $1,000 to go see Paul McCartney. If you were in the good seats and went out to dinner first, you spent $1,000 that night.
Yeah.
So to have some guy say it wasn't the best concert in their life, well, they weren't thrilled with that. Yeah.
How about some other, anything else that, that's noteworthy you can think of? Because you've pretty much gotten every rock concert that's come into town.
Oh, I'm
and
lucky.
San Francisco, all the way down.
I'm
so.
out maybe 300 nights a year. at
Is
this
that right?
point.
Yeah, right.
And I get to see it all sometimes.
Is this backstage, or where do you usually sit when you're?
I try, for the most part, I try to see it like a fan, as if I'd paid my money. Because, traditionally for a long time, we would pay for the tickets and sit just like anyone else, because I wanted to review it just like I was a normal person.
Right.
Now we get a little better seats. Usually I'm in the orchestra in the middle, somewhere like that. I pick the seats more for sound. I'm more interested in a good sound location than sight. And that may differ. Some people really go to see things. But
How about, do you ever get up to the bleed seats to just see how the?
I always do.
Really?
In fact, I always check. At Shoreline, I always go to the worst seat in the place. I
Yeah.
do it at the arena too. Because
Right.
if I'm in these great seats and I'm rating the sound was perfect, well, I know what it's like. I've been on the third deck, and I
Yeah.
know sometimes it's not perfect
Yeah.
up there. A lot of times it's terrible. And I want to make note of that too.
How about some of your? What are some of the best interviews you did?
Oh, boy.
Like, can you think of a best or something that?
Well, the best for me has to be interviewing El Tree. These
Yeah.
guys were billed as the Rolling Stones of Mexico, and I met them, and we hit it off. We went out drinking. We went out for sushi, started drinking, and they said, well, do you play anything? I said, well, a little harmonica, but nothing to speak of. They said, well, let's jam. We started jamming about 10 at night. We finished at 6 in the morning. And then at the end of the jam, the guy says, all right, tomorrow at Shoreline, you're going to play it the same way. I go, what? I'd never played a party before,
Right,
practically,
right.
and this guy,
these
my
guys are
first
passionate about
appearance
it then.
was at Shoreline.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are passionate. They live for the music.
Yeah, and we'll see some pictures later on. I know you're talking about the gremlins that they have that go to these concerts, and we'll explain that later.
But that Warfield show we saw, that was when we opened for El Tree.
Is that right?
Doghouse
Yeah.
Riley.
Oh, so they were going on, and I
They were
imagine
on
because they had a
after us.
Spanish announcer there, so I'm
Yeah.
right. It has to be something like that.
Yeah, and I was impressed that the audience was singing along in English,
English,
even though
yeah.
everything else they were going to hear all night was in Spanish.
How about worst? How about worst show that you?
Worst show I saw was Shuggy Otis. You know him, Johnny Otis, his son.
Mm-hmm.
25 years ago, he had a great album, and in fact, he was auditioned and almost made it as the Rolling Stones guitar player. When Mick Taylor left, Shuggy Otis was a top candidate for the Mick Taylor spot that Ron Wood ended up getting. He's a great player, had a great album, and then he lost it to drugs. So 25 years later, he came back at the Fillmore, and he sold it out. People were excited. David Byrne re-released his album. Things looked like he was going to get back on track. And it was the worst. You can't imagine a worse show. In that he got out there, and it was clear he hadn't rehearsed. He looked like he was meeting the band for the first time. He would start a song and say, all right, we're going to do this in B flat. You know, you guys know it, right? And you watch the horn players, who were all pros, studio pros, session pros, they all backed up further and further during the song until they were behind the curtain at one point playing. It was he played the same song several times. He, not knowing he'd already played it. There was all kinds of screeching. At one point he dropped the bass and then started yelling at the sound man. I mean, it was a debacle.
Oh, that's too
sad.
bad.
You know, and the trouble was, as a critic, I had to stay through the whole thing. And also I wanted the poster. They give the free posters at the end. But it was sort of funny because he started with a full house. By the end, there were about 20 people left in the place. And as we left, I was walking by the bar across the street, and somebody had left. They said, "Oh, you got the poster. It should say, 'I survived Shuggy Otis.'" You know, I thought that was funny. That's how bad it can be. But it's rare. You know, most of the time when a performer is at the level that they can play a big place, they've earned it.
They're going to be ready to go.
And they know how to entertain. Yeah.
Now, I know you did an article one time on Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a little bit about that, because a spoof on a spoof, I think.
Yeah,
is what you called it.
I wrote it as if I were one of the stoned out Spinal Tap fans who thought they were a real band. Right? I mean, there was no spoof involved. I wrote it like this was the greatest metal band of all time. And there was a two-edged sword on this. The editor of the paper didn't get it. I got in a little bit of trouble for writing something that she didn't quite understand, but Spinal Tap loved it, and it's still on their website.
Yeah, that was great. It was a good article, too.
Thanks.
How about hate mail? I mean, I won't talk about this very long, but...
No, I love my hate mail. I save it. I save
right?
tapes of it. If anybody thinks my job isn't sometimes risky or on the edge, I panned the Doobie Brothers once. Now, I should know better. In San Jose, you don't pan the Doobie Brothers.
Right.
Well, I didn't know just how rabid their fans were. My phone mail, which had a 15 capacity, filled up constantly. Every time I emptied it, it filled up again. And the bars would let out at 2 in the morning, and I'd get calls from people. Well, I can't say them here, but the things they said, you know. But it was like...
At least they're passionate fans.
They were passionate. I always respect that. The one, though, that scared me is, I know what car you drive. I'm going to see you in that little import one day and you're in trouble. Or so that was the kind of scare. But 2 in the morning, I was getting drunks calling from the bars to talk about the Doobie Brothers review. And I don't even think I was that hard on them.
Yeah,
I just said it was the same set they'd done for the last 20 years, you know.
Now, I know we got some pictures here. We're going to bring them up on the screen. And here, take a look at describe what's going on.
That is one of the highlights of my life. That was a year ago. And Billy Gibbons, who is just the sweetest guy in ZZ Top, you know, another guy who the Hells Angels love, spends his day in pajamas. Those are his pajamas he's
now,
wearing.
where was this picture
This was
taken?
at Villa Montalvo last September.
ZZ Top at
ZZ
Villa
Top played
Montalvo.
Montalvo, yeah. and now, you know, I bought this amp at your store that I love dearly.
Yeah, the Little Dan Electro.
It's a Little Dan Electro I'm going to play through today. And I said to Billy, hey, will you jam me a song? So he did, and I said, and also, because I'm thinking of doing a series like this, will you critique my plans? Since I'm going to critique yours tonight, let me know what you think. Billy was kind. We played Jesus Just Left Chicago.
Yeah.
It was the best version I've ever heard him do of it. Even after that, he played, tried my harmonica after.
Yeah.
Anyway, his review was, as long as you're playing through that amp, you're going to sound good.
Yeah. Here, let's go back to that, the Gremlins. Now, I know that's too bad. This is a side picture. Come on, let's go back if we can get that on the clothesline. There we go.
Right there.
Now, let's turn our heads to the left and tell us about that's at an L3 concert.
That was right here at the fairgrounds, the
Yeah.
San Jose Fairgrounds. Now, their
that's a telephone
fans
pole.
are nutty. I mean, they come in, Alex Laura, the singer of L3, a lot of profanity. You know, he's a real dichotomy of things. He's a very Catholic guy, does all kinds of things for the church, but when he gets out on stage, it's a chance for his fans to just go wild. And they climb those light posts. One of them at one point fell off. They climbed the light post. One of them got naked, displayed the Mexican flag, fell off on top of a sheriff's deputy. It was like, that was ugly, but it was, they're fanatical. But for me, you know, to be the gringo that got to play with these guys, it's like the Rolling Stones going to Mexico and picking up some guy and saying, come jam with us. Because ever since, I play with them now on every tour.
Yeah.
It's the highlight of my life every
And he
time.
has some fun instruments. I see this one with a big hand that he plays on. There's a bass player and a guitar player. They
Yeah,
both have.
he's got the
has
raised middle finger.
Now this looks like you. This is Pat Travers'
Yeah,
band.
yeah, that was
that
with
looks like
Pat
that's
Travers.
Michael Rose. I know.
It
him,
is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Pat uses
And now
the
this
San
looks.
Jose
Is this
backing
Fairgrounds
band.
as well?
No, that was Doghouse Riley and Playing with Pat Travers were the last bands to play the Hollister Motorcycle Rally last July.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, so we shut the thing down. It'll never happen again.
Yeah.
now, I guess.
Well, I think we're going to do a little jam right now. If you want to get you the amp ready, if you don't mind playing harp a little bit,
I'd like to
introduce
They don't mind listening.
the guys that are going to jam along with you.
Show the autographs.
Yeah, let's see if we can get a picture
Autographs.
of
I
this
get everybody
amp.
who's played through this thing to sign
Can we get a
it.
picture on this amp right here? There we go.
Yeah, so you got El Tree there, you got Jason Ritchie, my favorite harmonica player, Magic Dick, another harmonica player.
Yeah.
And
Jay
Billy
Giles Blues
Gibbons.
Band, right?
Jay Giles Band, yeah. And Billy Gibbons drew a picture of himself
And
on
this
there.
little Dan Electro was made in the 50s, and this thing is just a little terror of an amp. And this is the one that, of course, you played with Billy Gibbons at Villa Montalvo.
Yep.
So we got power on. I want to introduce the band first that we're going to be jamming along. This is Rick Alegria. Rick Alegria's first gig with Chuck Berry, and he plays with Paul Williams. And this is Russ Pettit, one of the teachers at Showcase Musical Institute. And if you guys are ready, let's do it. Okay, not on the tape. Not on the tape. We already. Awesome. Awesome. And that was great. That was like 2 minutes of practice before we put that on. So now let's talk a little bit about gear while we got you here.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know, with harp players, I think here, come on and have a seat, and then we'll
Okay.
But the one constant I see with harp players is most all of them use tube amps.
Yep.
But they're all over the place. They're all over the field as to what kind of tube amps. Tell us what you play when you go out and play with Doghouse Riley. What kind of amp you play?
Playing the Mesa Boogie Lone Star,
Yeah.
which is a tube amp that's also has the controls of an airplane. There's so many possibilities in it. You can get so many different sounds. It's got reverb, dirty, clean. It's big, loud, and
So it'll
great
do just
for-
about any gig
Does
that you're
just about
playing, right.
anything, yeah. But I'm always experimenting. I love different effects. You know, if I had my way, I'd have more than Jimi Hendrix out there with just different effects, just to get something. I love an old tube rotary roto vibe I have
Yeah.
that I could sound like a B3 through it. And I'm always playing with different things.
Now, I know this harps. There's really only two out there. There's the Lee Oscars, and then there's the
Honers.
The Honers, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you play on typically?
Well, now I play a custom-made Honer. They're made by a guy in Gilroy. They're Honers.
Yeah, let's take a look if you have them.
These are special. Kenya Pollard makes these in Gilroy, and this is partly my design in it and partly your help.
Yeah.
These are the only colored harmonicas you will see anybody play. You use a plastic body, and he modifies them. You know, the store-bought Honers, I'm sorry to say, most of the time, a lot of the time they're leaky or they're not exactly
So
in
what does he
tune.
do to these?
He bevels them, bevels each reed, the reed slots, so that they're airtight. Mostly, that's what he does. And shapes the reeds so that they're always playing airtight and fine. And he'll mold them to how you play. I play hard, so he's got them tuned in a certain way so that I won't make them go flat.
Huh. So what kind of lifetime do you get out of something like this?
Well,
Still.
sometimes you'll only get one play, but once these are made, he backs them for life, so he'll always retune
So you can
them
just
for
hand it
me.
to and take them back. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but I'm still having to buy the other thing is these are in limited keys. I buy the Lee Oscars for the minor keys. Lee Oscar has a whole set of minors. Honer didn't come out with that until fairly recently.
Yeah.
So if you want to play with somebody in minor, one of those slow, haunting blues, you need to use a minor key.
How about for microphone? What are you using for? I see you got the Bullet. Is there anything else you use?
Yeah, I just use variations on the Bullets.
Bullet, yeah, which is Shure. For those people who don't know, that's Shure's made that. That mic's been around forever.
And I used to have them in wooden cases, redwood cases. The Bullet itself was redwood. Those got stolen, so now I'm back to metal. But.
And then I'm trying to think, now do you ever get into situations with the Dan Electro where you can play that, just mic it and play it on bigger gigs?
I do, very often, yeah.
Because I know you played JJ's a bunch, and so you've gone into JJ's with that tiny little, and for those who don't know, this is like a 5-watt amplifier. Most times when you go to gigs, you're playing 100-watt, 200-watt things for the bigger stuff, and here's this little 5-watt with a mic in front of it that's doing quite well. Now, what's coming up in the future? Let's change directions again.
Well,
what's coming up with your band? Let's go talk about
our
the
band.
Doghouse
I know.
Riley.
Okay, I can give a plug for this. We're playing the Support the Troops Festival with Greg Kinn, and that is on the aircraft carrier Hornet, and that'll be September 29th.
Oh, that's
That'll
great.
Be our
Yeah,
big
great
gig for
plug.
the year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, benefits, these go to the families of the troops. So whatever side of the situation you're on, you can't go wrong supporting them, I think.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Anything else coming up?
Well, we're every Monday we're at JJ's.
Okay.
We do the gig 7 to 9 p.m. at JJ's. That's kind of our practice gig, and people come listen. What else have we got coming up?
Well, how about big concerts coming up that you're going to be interviewing? What's coming up?
Well, I think the show of the year, it's got to be October 10th, Roger Waters, Pink Floyd. He's doing all the Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, that was probably the best show I ever saw in my life, was Pink Floyd. The first time they did Dark Side.
Well, I know we were talking about favorite albums. And I always like to ask my guests when they come on the program what their favorite albums are. And I know you brought up Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, I think I would have to say, that album's still perfect. It still holds up. It's still bulletproof. Yeah, from start to finish. It's one of those things you don't want to just hear a song on. You put it on at the beginning and you end it at the end.
Yeah.
You know?
And I know now there's one other thing that I see in the paper when I'm reading it. There's a Brad blog. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, that's wonderful. For the things I can't always get in the paper, like some of the behind the scenes or the little things that might not fit in a review, things I've seen or heard backstage or little intricacies. I have a blog. I'm writing something every day on the blog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is that where people can write in back to you?
Oh, and they do. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
What do you usually hear in for?
Well, always. It's positive or negative. You get debates on different things. I'm trying to think. I did a Pink Floyd thing that just got responses from all over the world. I was getting from China, from Russia, people writing about their thoughts on Pink Floyd. That's the beauty of the internet. It's also, as a critic, I see 200 bands a year at least, right? But there are 200 experts on each of those bands. And if I make the least bit of a mistake, leave out an accent mark, spell something wrong, get the title of a song wrong, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is sometimes the performers don't even know. I was once interviewing Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead. And he did this song, and I'm going, what's the name of that song, Bob? He goes, well, I'm not quite sure. I call it Lady. But some people call it Lady with a Fan. and other people call it this, but I don't know what it's called. And you realize they may have put it on the album, the title, when they went to press, and the fans know that title, but when they were working it, they might have had a completely different title. So I've had that problem. Sometimes the bands don't even know the names of their own songs.
Well, I know we're wrapping up the time right now, but I want to thank you so much for joining us. This has
it's
been
a
a
pleasure.
pleasure, and thanks for
Thanks.
the jam as well.
Well-
I think we're going to end it with you playing as well at JJ's.
Now, what
No,
ki-
they have this on tape, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Oh, okay.
thank you for
What kind of
joining
hate
us.
mail am
and
I going to get?
I know.
Critique the critic, right?
I know, we'll see. Anyway, thanks, Brad.
Thank you.